Hey, welcome to the video. In this one, I want to break down how to build a highly effective call funnel. If you have a high ticket offer, you're trying to get more calls, but at scale, this is going to be a great funnel for you. This I wouldn't recommend you do unless you're already spending $100 a day. You've got a validated offer. Like this isn't for beginners. This is typically what I build out for people who are already at high six and seven figures. So my private clients that I actually partner with and run their marketing for, this is the funnel that we build out and it works really well. And I actually had a coaching client launch this funnel yesterday, and within the first day, he's booked 3 qualified calls. So they go through an application to actually fill that out. And then from there, he can see if they're qualified, like financially qualified. So this works really well. But you need to have a validated offer, right? Like if you're brand new, this isn't going to work. But if you're spending money, you're running ads, and you want a more efficient way to scale, then this is going to be a really good funnel for you. And typically what it looks like is you have let me just hit record on here so you can see my screen. Typically what you have is you have ads, right? You probably have multiple ads, and they're going to a page which is like a call booking page. And what we use for this is what's called a video sales letter. So you've probably heard of video sales letters before. They're kind of described in different ways a lot of the time. But the easiest way to think about a video sales letter is it's a video presentation that breaks down who you help, what you do, and how you can help them, right? With a call to action to take the next step. Sometimes you can use them to sell things. In this case, we're looking at getting applications and call bookings for a high ticket offer, right? And I'm going to break down exactly what we put on that page as well, because there are certain things that we can put on there to make sure it converts really well. And there's kind of like a checklist as well. So it's not crazy. It's pretty straightforward. And then on the back end, we have follow up as well. So I'm going to go through that on this training. So if we look at the page, right, typically what we'll have is something like this. We're going to have a headline, a subheadline. We're going to have the video, and then we're going to have the button, right? This is all what we call above the fold. So before somebody scrolls, they're going to see all of this, right? Now, what you can also do below the scroll is you can have some testimonials. You don't need to have loads here. This is more, I don't think people even watch these half the time, but it's more just a checklist to kind of say like what this person is doing, is legit. And what I'm going to do as well is break down what we want to put in this headline and subheadline, because the problem the problem with a lot of VSLs you see these days is they've got a bad reputation. And the reason they have a bad reputation is because they typically look something like this in terms of the headline. They're usually like, we, promise to, insert, crazy result, or you don't pay, and will, send you $5,000. I've literally seen people do this, $5,000 for wasting your time, right? That's what I would call a crazy guarantee, a crazy offer, a crazy promise, right? You don't need to do that. And this is kind of like where all the Hormozy offer stuff kind of went, in my opinion, in a downward spiral, because you've got everybody kind of with an offer online, whether you're a coach, whether you're an agency, whether you're a service provider, everybody's got these crazy guarantees now where they're all competing with each other. And it's like, who has got the best guarantee? And we actually, one of my clients is I won't mention their name, but they're in a competitive field. And basically they've got hundreds of people or competitors that are all kind of in this like downward spiral of racing to the bottom, right? We'll do X for you. We'll do Y for you. And they're all kind of competing with each other. They're very similar, but they're like, hey, we'll get you 50 customers. Hey, we'll get you 60 customers, or we'll refund you, or in this time frame, or you don't pay, right? And they're all kind of just competing with each other. The best kind of headlines and promises you can make really is like there's two options. Like option one is how I, right? And depending on how you do this is going to be dependent on, the kind of business you're running. And number two is how they. So how I might be like, if you've achieved something in your life or your business and you're like, this is the system I use to do this, this, and this, which is what we did with this client. They're doing about 150K a month with this funnel, right? So how I offer. The other one is how they, which is like you take your clients, and this might be more applicable if like depending on the clout, right? So if you and your own results has more clout, use that. If your clients and their results have more clout, use that. So typically for me, my clients, at least like at the highest level, are further along in business than I am. So they have more clout, and the results that I get with them is more clout than what I can talk in my own business, right? So how they might be something like, you know, how we generated 1,273 leads, 597 qualified appointments, and closed 79 high ticket clients. I was specifically around coaching. So high ticket coaching clients last month. And this is based on data. This is like, I'm writing this out as if this is my own offer because this is kind of what we did for clients last month. And this is for 5 clients, by the way. So it's pretty good. Coaching clients last month using this simple 3-step strategy. This would be a really compelling how they headline, right? If I wanted to restructure it, let's say I did this specifically just in my business, what I would do is I would say how I generated 1,273 leads, 597 qualified appointments, and closed 79 high ticket coaching clients last month using this three simple step strategy, right? How we or how they is like you're talking about your clients' results. So that's the distinction here, right? And this is good because when you go into the actual VSL and what you're talking about in the video, you're going to be just showcasing different client results, which is cool because they're going to resonate with, or your market's going to resonate with different stories, right? Because you probably have like multiple clients that are all like they're similar, on a similar journey, but they all have like slightly different stories, right? Maybe one of your clients, and I'll think about my clients, right? I've got a client who's a dad of 3, right? I've got a client who's a grandmother and semi-retired. I've got a client who's a 23-year-old entrepreneur, right? These are different demographics, and I can tell the stories of these different clients to resonate with different people in the market. I digress, right? So we've got the headline. The sub headline is just going to be really straightforward. It's going to be like, watch the video below to see how this works, right? And you can expand on this a little bit, how this can work in your business and your life, whatever it is you're selling. But watch the video below to see how this works, right? We're giving them a call to action now to watch the video. Then we go into the video. What's important to note on a landing page of any kind, it doesn't matter what you're marketing, the headline is the most important thing, because if they do not go past the headline, they don't go past the rest of the page, right? So the headline is the most important thing. The next thing is the sub headline. The next thing is, in this case, the video. Then it's the call to action, which is the button. So we're going to go into the video. Now, there's different opinions when it comes to VSLs, and I've tested a lot of different things, and there's different ways of doing it, right? I have clients that are running VSLs successfully that are 5 minutes long, and I think that's kind of like the shortest you want it. And then I have clients that successfully run VSLs that are like 25 minutes long. How I think this changes is dependent on your offer and the kind of market you're in. So I'll explain that now. Just get a coffee down. I think the higher sophisticated market, and if you're in a B2B market, the shorter it wants to be, right? So for example, one of my clients, they help existing businesses grow their businesses in a specific niche, right? I work with a few business mentors, business coaches, and business agencies where they grow other businesses, right? It's a B2B offer. They just want to get straight down to like, what is it you do and how can you help me? They don't really care as much about people's backstory and their like sub story and origin story and all that stuff. They just want to get down to it. Like, what is your thing that you do? How do you get clients? Like, what results do you get? What type of people do you work with? They just want to tick all those boxes and then they want to speak to somebody. It's very direct, it's high sophisticated, they have money, they're ready to invest, but they just need to know some of the details and they need to tick a few boxes in the back of their mind to say, I can trust this person. This is an expert. This is somebody I actually want to, first of all, invest my time speaking to. I don't want to waste time because I'm busy, right? So a small VSL, a short VSL works well for those like B2B, high sophistication, right? A longer VSL works better for kind of like a biz op offer, right? So one of my clients who just launched a VSL, he's getting calls booked for like $20 Australian, which is like $15 US, which is unreal. It's early days, it'll probably go up, but it's a good start, right? And these are qualified. He's got a biz op offer, right? And it's not like an MLM scheme or anything. He helps people in sales. That is a biz op offer. It's like something that is it's a B2C offer because the person is a consumer. He's not marketing to an existing business, but it's a business opportunity, right? Come and learn this skill set or come and learn this thing and we'll help you do this, right? In his case, he's helping people become remote closers. That's a biz op offer. I've worked on quite a few biz op offers over the years. You tend to want to have like maybe a 15 to 25-minute VSL because you're probably going to need to break down more around the backstory and your personal backstory, because usually with biz op offers, the founder has been through this journey themselves and now they're kind of like showcasing the model to somebody else. So you need a backstory and you need a breakdown of the model that you're selling for a biz op offer. So generally speaking, those VSLs tend to be a bit longer. It's not to say they can't be short, like you can shorten them, but like you want to make sure that you're still you're going to be breaking things down a bit more emotionally for people and logically. Whereas in a high ticket B2B short and snappy funnel, it's less emotion based, it's more logic based. It's just like, here are the steps, here's the next step. With something like a biz op offer, there's going to be more emotional buy-in, right? Right now you're stuck in your 9 to 5 that you hate. You're grinding away, you're burnt out, you're X, you're Y, you're Z, right? You're struggling with all these problems. I was like that. I went through this journey myself. I discovered this business model where I did this, and this, and then I realized there were gaps in the market and I wanted to help other people do the same, right? That's the very shortened version of a biz op offer. And you see people do this at massive scale, like Iman Gadzi, anyone who's like selling like grow an agency or a coaching business to like the general consumer is a biz op offer, like a business opportunity offer, right? I don't work with loads of people that have biz op offers just because they're very hit and miss. Like there are quite a lot of people in the space who are selling these offers where it's like disingenuine, like they're not offers I believe in, so I wouldn't want to market them. However, the clients I do have that have these offers have very unique and very good offers. They do things like job placements and stuff as well. So it's like very good. It's a very good offer, right? Something that I would actually want to market and get behind. Lastly, you have like a typical B2C offer, right? And I've worked on a lot of these over the years, which is like fitness, health. This is like mindset, even like life coaching. This was actually my background if you're new to my channel. So I actually used to be a personal trainer. I went online. I did like a lot of men's health and mental health kind of coaching, life coaching. I mean, I've even worked with a lot of chiropractors, gyms, some real estate. All right, this is all B2B. Oh, sorry, B2C, right? Business to consumer. Generally speaking, you're probably going to be looking at a middle range. So like anywhere from like 10 to 20 minutes. And this is going to be a lot more emotional based, tied up in logic, right? So what I mean by that is like the hook and the entry point is you telling a story, again, your story or a client's story or multiple stories where you're breaking down the problems that people are having and the gap. And I'm going to get onto that in a second because this is really important to understand. In any offer you have, you need to understand the gap in somebody's mind as to why they're going to book a call with you. So we have emotional base and then we tied it in logic at the end. I call this the emotional logical bridge. I came up with this terminology years ago, and I think it's like an easy way to break down um, how to bridge the gap from where somebody is to where somebody wants to get to, right? Right. So this is the bridge here. And the bridge is like your process for doing something. Okay. So this person over here is stuck. And the best markets in any market to go after is somebody who is trying but failing, right? Like, let's say you have a weight loss offer. I've done hundreds of these over the years. If you have like a weight loss offer, it's really hard to market like fitness coaching, for example, to somebody who's really overweight and they're just like, let's say they're scrolling on their phone and they're just sat on the sofa, they're watching TV, they're eating Doritos, they're completely unmotivated. Like, that is an incredibly hard market. And they're, because you're having to motivate people to then take action to do the hard thing. I wouldn't go after those guys. And typically they tend to be lower social economic, right? People that are just not very driven in life, right? It's pretty harsh, but it's true, right? Your best bet is to go after somebody who is further along the journey and they're doing a lot of things, but they're failing, right? And they're usually failing for a few reasons. Usually they don't have the right process in place, they don't have coaching or systems and accountability. These things are so overlooked. There's my mic here. They're so overlooked. Accountability, right? Because you can give somebody the process on YouTube, right? Somebody who's self-motivated will go on YouTube, they'll look at a process and say, okay, I'm going to give that a go. And then what happens is, let's say, and you can apply this to any market. It doesn't, like, we can talk about fitness, we can talk about business, right? The two easiest ways to think about this is if you're trying to lose weight or if you're trying to grow a business, right? So let's say you're at point A, you're here, and you want to get here. Most of the time, you follow a process, and let's say it's like a however many steps this is, like a 10-step process, for example. Most of the time, people who are driven will do like one or two steps, and then they'll hit some sort of friction point, and then they'll start again and try something else, a different strategy. And so they end up going around in circles and they do 10, 20 different strategies and they never get anywhere, right? They make a bit of money, they fall back. They lose a bit of weight, they fall back and put it back on, right? This is typically what most people get stuck with. And this is where coaching and accountability come into play. And this is why coaching is so valuable. And this is why I've invested over $150,000 of my own money into coaching over the last like 12 years, right? Coaching, mentoring, masterminds, all of this stuff. So a good coach is going to be over here and they're showing you the process, right? Which is this. That's a terrible arrow. Okay, they're showing you the process, but what they also know is, because they're, presumably got some experience and they've been through the journey themselves and they helped other people already, they know that like when you get here, you're going to feel a certain way. Maybe like you get tired or you see other ideas and you get distracted or you have a little bit of a setback, right, at these different points, and you feel like giving up and going and starting afresh and doing something new, right? Which usually means you're just going to fire the coach and go hire another coach, or you're going to go watch some stuff on YouTube, right, and do something different. The job as the coach is to lay out the strategy and the process and hold you accountable to it, right? Like, no, stop starting from zero. We're going to optimize this thing. And I think about some of my clients where, let's say, for example, we build like a marketing funnel for them and it's like working, but it's like very inefficient, right? Let's say it's working at like 10% efficiency. Most people look at that and say, this isn't working. I want to just go and build a whole new marketing funnel, right? But the thing is, they're going and they're building that and they're at 0% again, right? And now they're trying to get it up. And then, chances are they're going to get that to 10% and be like, oh, this is too slow. I'm going to go try something new, right? People are very impatient. It doesn't matter what market you're in. People are very impatient. They want things fast. But oftentimes that's not the way it works. And usually in a lot of areas, right? I've coached people on health, fitness, mental performance, business over the years. What happens a lot of the time is it's kind of like really slow and then you get a peak, right? And then it will kind of tip off and then you get another peak, right? So if you like This is a graph. Most people just give up here because they're like, it's too slow. Whereas if they're patient and they take off, boom, works really well. I had a client recently who I'm still working with. He was actually a couple of months in and he was very slow. He was getting leads. He had a couple of calls, but it was very slow for him. And then we kind of fine tuned a few things within the strategy. And then it started taking off. And then all of a sudden his ads are profitable and he's got momentum, right? But he was very close to giving up. And that happens a lot of the time. And so, my job and your job as the coach is to keep people accountable. So if we go back here, it's to keep people accountable to the plan. And that is what is going to allow them to get the result that they actually want, right? So how we tie this back into the VSL, right? Because I feel like we've kind of gone on a bit of a tangent here. We need to understand the emotional logical bridge. So we need to understand what gaps are people facing right now, which is like there's usually is around fear and uncertainty, right? There's a lack of clarity and that makes people scared because they're like, what if this bad thing happens? What if it doesn't work out? What if I waste my money? What if I waste my time? What if I, if you're in like dating or if you're in like relationships, it's like, what if I lose my partner? What if I never meet a partner? What if I end up, dying alone? Like worst case scenario, right? And your job is to meet people where they're at emotionally, right? And this is hard because, some people struggle with this, but you need empathy. Empathy is extremely important in marketing. And empathy is just breaking down and relating to people where they're at. So if you're a coach and you're like selling the transformation that you have been through yourself, you will know the emotions that people will feel at different stages in the journey, right? Sometimes you have to do some meditation and journaling and reflect on this. And sometimes I get my clients to do that because they've been in the game so long, they can't connect with people emotionally. They're just trying to break stuff down logically that they forget that, oh, actually, when I was here, I was feeling like loads of anxiety, right? Loads of fear, right? Uncertainty. And when people are feeling this way, specifically these emotions, right? Fear, anxiety, uncertainty, the chances of them taking action are going to be very limited because they're stuck in like this spiral in their mind of like over analyzing and picturing the worst case scenario. So they're kind of being held back. So your job in your VSL is to shift their beliefs and get them believing in themselves. It's not just about believing in you as a coach, it's about getting them to believe in themselves. Okay, like what's the opposite of anxiety and fear? It's confidence. And uncertainty is certainty. So, how you do that is you tell stories of yourself and clients who who were in their position. And you can literally relate it back. Like, I remember, a few years ago when I was really anxious about doing this thing, I was really uncertain and I wasn't sure if I was going to do it. And then I decided to take action and I was anxious at first. But then what happened was, and then because you're connecting with people where they are emotionally, I started to see progress, right? And then this is the thing, we're still talking about emotions here. This is the thing they want. What do they want? Right? I started to see progress and I started to achieve this thing. Then, and you can break in a few case studies here. If you're just talking about yourself to begin with, right? And it was the same for my client, Bob, Pod, Bob, Bob, and John and Phil and Jenny, right? They all went through the same thing. They were feeling like this, and Bob was a dad of two, and John was single, and Phil was divorced, right? And Jenny was like a busy mom, and they were all feeling these ways, right? They all had this same emotion where they felt this way around X, Y, and Z. Okay. The process we took them through to go from A to B, right? So your transformation was, and then this is where you break down your method or your process. Okay. And you don't have to go super in depth on this. It just needs to tick a mental box in terms of people understanding it. So this is going to help shift people's beliefs. You don't need to teach people and say, here's the technical setup of how you do all these things. You just need to show them like, all of my clients, they used to do this, right? And then I got them to do this. So, for example, weight loss, it's like all of my clients used to go on these super restrictive diets and they would just eat like no calories, and and what would happen is that would destroy their metabolism. So what we did is we used reverse dieting where we slowly increased their calories, so they were able to fix their metabolism, and they actually had more energy because they were eating more, and then that allowed them to get better workouts in, which allowed them to lose more weight, right? You might tie this into a monetary thing of like, if I think about myself, it's like a lot of clients get stuck doing organic marketing and they think that that's the only way they can do things. And they're looking at it because typically they don't put much money into it, or sometimes zero money. So they're like, oh, everything I'm making is pure profit. But they're stuck making 5 to 10 grand, 5 to 10 grand a month, sometimes even more, sometimes 20, 30. Whereas when you set up ads effectively, yes, you've got this thing, but most people are looking at it as an expense rather than an investment. So you run ads effectively, and worst case, you're probably doing a 5x, but some of my clients are doing a 10 or a 12x. So they go in and it's like, they've gone from making 5K a month with zero expenses, but now they're making 30K a month with 5K expenses. Here, they're making 5K. Here, profit, let's say. And here, they're making 25K profit, right? Most people get scared about spending 5K because they don't have a process in place. And if you just try and go and do this by yourself, chances are you're just going to burn 5K, right? Because you don't have somebody who's actually set this up before. You don't have the systems in place. You don't have the guidance. You don't know what to optimize and tweak if stuff's not working. So that's why you need to work with someone like myself, right? This is how you break it down logically for people. And I like to think about it in like 3 steps. I think this is like easy for people to visualize. Like, first of all, we do this, then we do this, and then we do this. And that allows us to achieve the result that you want. So that's how you break down a VSL. Now, I'm just going to talk a little bit about what we do on the back end. So the button, when someone clicks the button on the page, we want to qualify them. So we're going to take them to a form. Oh, can't spell form. And we just want to ask a few questions. Number one, have you watched the video on the page? Right? If they say no, cancels. Right? I haven't watched it. Boom. It cancels. It sends them back. Go watch the video. Number two, are you in a position to invest? Now, you don't have to say these words specifically, and there's different ways of doing it. Like you might just ask, are you in full-time work right now? Are you in... This is a financial qualifier. Right. And then you might have some more inquiry questions just to speed up the sales process. So it might be, you might have like 2 to 3 questions that are like, about them and what they've tried. Like for me, I'm like, what funnel, like link your marketing funnels that you have right now. Have you run ads before? Have you worked with a coach before? Might be a question you ask. Or an agency if you're an agency. And then one question I like to ask is a certainty question, or like a time specific certainty question, which is like, is this a priority for you right now? And you can specify what this means, right? Is growing your business a priority for you right now? Is losing weight a priority for you right now? And again, like for these qualifying questions, if they say no, you just want to delete, you just want to push them back so they don't book a call. And you can set that up in something like Typeform, right? After they submit, you're also going to get their name and contact, right? So like name, number, email. After they submit, they're going to go to your Calendly or whatever you use to book calls. Might use Go High Level, and then they, confirmation page. So that's them booking the call. Now, the thing you want to do on the back end, once you book a call, is you want to hit them with content, specifically long form. And what we want to do here is just send them to videos that break down your process in more detail. So this is why we keep the VSL a little bit shorter, just to get them to book a call. And then we qualify them even more on the back end. So break down the process. And then we also want to share them different results, so case studies. And you can do this on a page. Like this is when I first learned about this years ago, it was always called like a tank page, right? It's like tank is in like, you're just tanking. It's like a term I think it was created in gaming, but it's like you're just pushing this massive kind of page of like results and videos and things towards them. But then what you want to do is, because that's going to overwhelm them, they're probably not going to watch all of it. You want to email them multiple times with content. What you can also do is, if you get their Instagram, you can ask this in the form as well. You can message them, or you might already have them in conversation depending on how you're running this funnel, but message them and confirm, right? And the whole goal of this is two things, right? One, we want to get them to show up. And two, we want them to warm up. If they've come from long form content and you've got a VSL link to your YouTube channel, they watch loads of content, they're already going to be warm, and that's great. They're probably going to be more likely to show up, and they're going to be more likely to buy. But if we're looking at running cold traffic to this, which is what I'm talking about in this video, they're not going to be that warm. And so we actually want to warm them up on the back end. It's like a kind of reverse strategy. So when you're lower on budget and you're not spending that much, you want to lead with content and then get them to a VSL, which is typically what I do with people. If you're like under 20, 30K a month, then you want to be doing that strategy. This strategy really is for scaling. And once you have things in place with your content and your ads, because this is like a fast lane strategy. Now, one thing I just want to finish on is like kind of the ROAS on this, because typically if you watch my channel and you look at like the IG growth funnel, and you're sending people to like the DMs and follower ads, and it's very content and DM focused. So it's a lot more like hands-on. It can be a bit slower, but typically we see people get anywhere from a 7 to a 15x ROAS on those. Now they don't spend as much, so it's not like they're doing huge numbers. But when people are doing a VSL funnel, they typically do like anywhere from a 5 to 7x, right? That might seem a bit shit compared to the other funnel, right? But you got to remember the numbers on this, and this is really, really important to understand, right? So let's say, for example, you're spending $1,000 a month on the top funnel, and you're doing a 7x, right? You're making 6,000 profit. Now, some of my clients are doing like anywhere between 1 and 200K who are running VSL funnels right now. This is like high level guys. If they do a 5x, and some of these guys are spending, I'll give one example. One guy's spending 10K a month right now, and 10K and doing a 5x, right? Actually, I think they're doing closer to 6x. So they're making 60K. That's front end, right? They do a lot higher because they have, retention and back end and stuff as well. But like 60K front end. They're doing 50K profit at a 6x, whereas this one is doing, I broke the wrong number down here. Let's even use something wild like 15, which isn't typical, but let's say this person's doing 15. This person's doing 14K profit off 1K spend. This person's doing 50K profit off a 10K spend. So this is where understanding it's not just about ROAS on the front end. Like ROAS is kind of like a beginner's game, like beginner to intermediate. You're focused on ROAS because your margins, you can't afford for your margins to be super low. You just need to like try and optimize things as much as possible. At scale, like really, those ROAS are going to decrease the direct return on ad spend, but your overall profit is going to be bigger because you're just spending more and making more. Now, obviously, you need to make sure you have a good offer. You've got a good high ticket offer. If you're selling something for like $500 or $1,000, you're going to have a very, very hard time scaling. And that's like the lifetime value, right? For example, you just sell a course, it's going to be very, very hard. If you have like one of my clients, this example is, these are rough numbers. This isn't exactly what they're doing, but like they have a 12K offer. It's $1,000 a month for 12 months. It's 12K. So if you have a 12K offer, it gives you more breathing room to scale. You're going to get higher returns because there's only so much you can do to optimize your lead cost and your cost per call. On the back end, if you're paying $100 for a call, then you're selling $1,000 product, versus a $12,000 product. Like you're always going to lose on that $1,000 product. You want to sell something if you're taking calls, and especially when you're a salesperson, they're paying commission, all of this stuff. Like you want to make sure that is as high ticket as possible within your market. Like obviously, if you just decide to charge 100K in the market you're marketing to, just can't afford that. that doesn't logically make sense. So you want to make sure it fits within the market that you're selling to. If you're selling to broke people, you're never going to be able to charge that much. So you want to look at your offer and what you can do to, you know, market to a more sophisticated audience that can actually afford what you have. Cool. So hopefully this makes sense. If you have any questions, fire below. I'm gonna do some more videos around call funnels because there's a lot to it. It's not just this is like the kind of like overarching strategy. But really like when you're scaling funnels like this, it does become more of a mindset battle because there's only so many things you can optimize after a certain amount of time. You just need to get used to spending more. And that's like a scary thing for a lot of people. But if you want help setting this up, message me on Instagram. We can have a chat and talk about this. I do set this up for people who are already scaling and they're at a high level. Otherwise, you know, if you want coaching and just the systems in place, I can help you with that. This is for people who are at minimum 20K a month. If you're under that, this is not worth setting up for you. I would look at my other content on my page and look at setting up Instagram ads for DMs for followers, just because that's going to be more optimal for starting. You want to be spending minimum $100 a day when you set this up. And you're going to need a few days of testing and probably a week or 2 weeks of iterating and then another couple of weeks of iterating. So sometimes out the gate, people will just get calls straight away and they're qualified and amazing and you've got cash flow coming straight back in. But you want to have a good runway just in case you don't. And then maybe like week 2, week 3, week 4 is when you start profiting from it. So if you can't afford to spend a few $1,000s up front, this funnel is not going to make sense for you. It's going to be very stressful and you're just going to be, you know, you're probably going to burn through money and then close it off before you have even time to optimize and get it working properly. So if you're in a position where you're ready to scale, reach out. I think this is going to be super helpful for you. If not, check out my other content. I do help people who are kind of at the lower end, who are trying to get to that 20, 30K a month so they can scale. And if you want to get the details for that, then just message me the word incubator on Instagram and I'll send you the details of that. You can get started for a pretty low price. I have a weekly payment structure for that. So it's easy to get on board and start getting some traction with that. But hopefully you found this video useful. If you did, hit like, hit subscribe, and I'll see you on the next one.